10:30 p.m., late in the summer season. It's storming outside, my favorite time of year and my favorite kind of weather. Whenever it storms, I just have to smile. Storms are beautiful, or at least I used to think so. Almost all the lights in the apartment were off, and I'm just talking to some friends over AIM. Then suddenly it became very, very cold, as if the storm from outside was creeping through the door. I just figure there was a temperature drop because of the storm, so I toss on a sweatshirt. After about 30 minutes or so, I'm still freezing cold. I start to get this feeling. It's a feeling we all have felt before. The feeling that someone is staring at you. The feeling that this someone is not very far away. The feeling that if you turn your head the slightest bit, you would see them. I shrug this feeling off because I am an extremely paranoid person, and I get this feeling all the time. I continue to converse with my friends. I even mention this sensation that I currently had, and my friends naturally laugh at me, saying I need to stop being a baby. The sympathetic ones say it will go away eventually and not to worry. I waited a while. It did not go away. In fact, it increased. It felt like something was consuming the very happiness within me, like something was filling me with dread. That chilling terror we all felt as children when the lights were turned out. A true fear of the dark. But it's not the dark we are afraid of, but of what lurks in the dark. I almost couldn't take it anymore. Here I am, almost a grown man, and I'm jumping at shadows. It's ridiculous, but as ridiculous as it seems, I still have this little voice in the back of my head telling me that maybe I have a reason to be afraid. Maybe I should turn around and see if there's actually anything there. Wait, why would I turn around? I don't want to turn around. Whose thought was that? That certainly wasn't mine. But who else's could it be? I reached my limit. If I stay in this chair another second, I'm going to go insane. I wonder if I can make it to my room before this thing gets me. It could be nothing, but I am not staying here to find out. I'm a pretty fast runner. There's no way this thing can catch me. Let's do this. The chair clatters as it falls to the floor. I don't think I could move this fast again if I wanted to. After my first foot was through the gateway to my room, I was already in the process of slamming the door. I rush over and turn on every light, including the TV, making sure there's no room for any shadows. I put my ear to do the door to see if I can hear it following me. Nothing. Complete stillness. The type of silence most people only experience once in a lifetime. I don't know why people would ever seek this type of quiet. I never want to hear silence again. I slowly back away from the door. I have one thought going through my mind. What in the hell did I just see? And why did I ever look over my shoulder? I will never forget what I saw. It was a shadow, but it wasn't a shadow. It was freestanding, as if it was a man. The surrounding night seemed to channel into this horrific being, making it seem blacker than the darkest pit in hell. It chilled me down to my very bones. Though something peculiarly odd stood out about this particular shadow being, it had a cane with a silver handle, and a top hat akin to something you'd expect to see in a movie from the early 20th century. And the thing that was the scariest part about it, to this day I swear it was smiling, and not the smile you ever want to be on the receiving end of. A smile that said I'm evil. A smile that said I had fun tonight. A smile that said I enjoyed toying with you. A smile that said I really want to hurt you. A smile that said I'll see you again. Grim. He came for me in winter. Now that I think of it, he would have never come at any other time. You see, he likes to play. He likes to have fun with his charges. It must be awfully boring otherwise, his job that is. I knew it was my turn, saw the warning signs. As I said, the sick bastard likes to have fun. First signs are usually so small one might miss them, like whispers in an empty room, a flit in the corner of the eye, a shadow in a hallway. Signs so minute, it takes those experienced with him to see. He'll fix your feet so you can't walk. He'll fix your jaw so you can't talk. Then paranoia. Someone is watching you. It's in the closet. He's hiding under your bed. He's coming for you, and there is nothing you can do. Well, what is this that I can't see? With ice-cold hands taking hold of me? Paranoia is where I think he has the most fun. I personally think he just lets it do its own thing, and just watches his chosen tear their own lives apart. This can stretch on for years, decades. Sanity unwinds, madness reigns supreme. Oh, how you're treating me. You've closed my eyes so I can't see. Time to time, he may honor you by showing himself. Of course, he won't just pop in and introduce himself. Where's the fun in that? No, he prefers to be seen only in partial glimpses. A slim shadow in an alley, a flash of a well-trimmed suit, a hand, spider-like in its length of digits, carving your name in the steam while you relax in the shower. A wheezy sigh from the foot of your bed as you drift off to sleep. He doesn't care about age, laughs aloud at the offer of money. Where he takes you neither matters. No wealth, nor land, nor silver, nor gold. Nothing satisfies him but your soul. He has existed as long as man, and by his very nature means that he will outlast us all. He has many names, some old as language itself. He has been called the Slender Man, Thanatos Malak Hamavet. He is El Muerte, the Reaper of the Abyss. He is Abaddon, the fallen angel. He is the last horseman, the rider on a pale horse. When God is cold, and the devil takes hold, he will have mercy upon your soul. I can hear him calling for me, his cruel titter like a cross between a child's and a fiddle. He knows where I hide, but he doesn't mind. And why should he? The children played, the preacher preached. Time and mercy are out of your reach. He stalks this place. Can't you hear? O death, won't you spare me another year? Host. Rain tapped at the windows and wind howled outside. The weather was crappy for summer, but Lizette couldn't be happier. Curled up with a book and steaming mug of tea, the 15-year-old girl quietly read and sipped contentedly, occasionally glancing to see the unbroken, glossy sheet of rainwater slide down the cool glass of the windows. Her parents and younger brother were away at some amusement park a couple states away, and she had elected to stay behind. Lizette had always been a bookish hermit, and so chose catching up on reading over kiddie rides and meth-addicted carnies. The lamp above her glowed warmly, and Lizette smiled at her good fortune. She was just reaching the last few pages of her novel when a sharp cracking noise echoed throughout the living room, and the lamp abruptly shut off. Wrapping her blanket more securely around herself, Lizette stood in the total darkness and went in search of some candles or a flashlight. She must have tripped and fell half a dozen times, acquiring some bruises in the process. She fumbled through drawers on her way there, and eventually found a couple candles and some matches. Lizette lit a short, fat candle and turned on her heel back to the stairs. Balance failed her at that crucial moment, and she fell forward. The candle went out as she went, and she reached out with her free hand for something to grab onto. To her surprise and terror, she did. Something smooth and cold and slightly damp gripped her hand and pushed her backwards, setting her back on the first step. Lizette stood a moment, heart racing, before relighting the candle and waving it in front of her. "Who's there?" she shouted, voice shrill. Lizette saw something move in the corner of her eye, and she whipped her head around to see that nothing was there. Paranoia, she thought to herself. That's what has you so wired. It's storming outside and the power was knocked out. It's only natural to be paranoid. She slowly, cautiously made her way downstairs and back to her chair, unnerved. The house was utterly silent, save the persistent dripping of rain on the roof and ground, and the sound of her own heart thumping inside of her chest. Lizette picked up her book and held the candle to it, attempting to reassure herself she was only imagining things. She had only just managed to calm down when she felt a light touch on her head. Not a very heavy touch, but still there. Only when she had leapt up and shrieked did Lizette see them. Shadows, moving along the walls, black and wispy. Some were big and some were small, but still silent and ominous all the same. Lizette shook all over, fear taking hold of her. How was this possible? There was no one but her in the house. No one could be casting those shadows that were dancing along the walls. She suddenly had a childish urge to run away, to hide under the covers and shut everything out. But no matter how much she wanted to, terror glued her feet to the floorboards. One of the shadows, the darkest and tallest of them all, had managed to extract itself from the others and now stood in front of her. Lizette. It spoke with a voice like the slithering of snakes. Lizette, it repeated, black nothingness that had formed in front of her and rooted her feet to the spot. I am in need of a new host, and I have chosen you. And when the last words were uttered, The shadow lightly tapped her, and Lizette fell to the floor, twitching and shrieking. No one would have heard her. The nearest neighbors were 2 miles away, and the rain was too loud anyways. The shadow laughed and wrapped itself around her, arms around her mouth to muffle the terrible sounds she was making. And when the girl had quieted, the shadow gently ran a hand over her eyes and drew its thin, insubstantial fingers upward. A new shadow rose from Lizette, white and shining. A clean young soul, practically brand new. And with that, Lizette's soul was cast into the crowd of shadows on the wall. The one that had quieted her was burrowing itself into her still warm body, taking hold of its latest host. The new Lizette flexed her fingers and stood up, testing the amount of control she had. Sometimes a bit of the owner's soul would remain and try to fight her, but they never succeeded. This was not the case, and the new Lizette had total control. Old Lizette's brown eyes frosted over and became icy blue upon newfound ownership. Emotionlessness washed over her face, and she calmly turned the circuit breakers back on. The shadows on the walls screamed and quickly tucked themselves into small, dark places. New Lizette laughed faintly, unaffected now, and wandered her way into the kitchen, selecting a large knife and turning it this way and that, admiring the way the light glinted on its edge. The shadow's own name had been lost so long ago, washed away by the ocean. New Lizette went back to the large, soft chair and picked up old Lizette's book, flipping it back to the very beginning. She slid the blade underneath a pillow and awaited the arrival of old Lizette's family. The souls of her past hosts' families would have some new companions soon. New Lizette smiled,